And as people start to make their way in, we'll just finish off that chat, Nath. We will get that game at the Australian as soon as Blake Windward returns from Europe and COVID ends, because that is going to be awesome.
Sounds good.
Yes. And then, Jim, your connection at Kalara was useful as well. He was keen to have Nath on. So, sorry, Pat, you just got to have to come back to Australia at some stage. We can play some golf.
Sounds good. You get me a membership at the Aussie and I'm there.
Sure, at 30 grand. Simple. Actually, I think it's 50 now, so that's fine. I'm on
How long's
radio.
the wait list? About 4 years?
I'd imagine you'd have a little way around it. Actually, Stuart Clark just got elected onto the board of our Cronulla Golf Club by such a long margin because all he put on his CV was bowled for Australia. I'm like, yep, that'll do it. Yep, you got my vote. All right, let's look to jump in because there's people coming in pretty rapidly, and this is going to be one of our most popular ones. So first and foremost, welcome, and it is almost wild to think we are back here again. This is the first of our second series of the monthly webinar series brought to you by the Primary Club of Australia, the cricketers' charity, providing sporting opportunities to people with a disability. And it's been doing great work. The amount of money we raised last year was phenomenal, and the work that was done we'll speak to in a second. Before I introduce my co-host and our unbelievable guests for episode 1, can I please thank our series sponsors. Vocus Communications, bringing the technology of this webinar series together. Ponting Wines, we'll talk about that throughout tonight and, well, throughout the entire series, delivering wines with flavour, elegance and finesse. And I can tell you it's a ripper. Allen and Unwin, leading book publishers, and just coming on board as well before we jumped on here tonight, Grey Coast Way, selling of technology solutions. We're really excited to do this. We love that you're part of it, and thank you for renewing if you're already a member of the Primary Club of Australia, or signing up if this is your first time here. $50 a year to join the Primary Club, and you have opportunities like this. And it is such a pleasure to introduce the president of the Primary Club. He has been since 2009, regarded by many as the voice of Australian cricket, Jim Maxwell AM. So good to see you, my friend.
And you, Matt, what's that thing growing out of your right ear?
That's a fiddle leaf, and my God, it's flying. It is going absolutely. Since last we chat, Jim, I've grown this tree and a small child, and it is wild to think that we are back here. We're supposed to be out of lockdown.
We want to get out. We're desperate to get out of lockdown. We've been troglodytes for the last 3 months, living in a cave, and it'll be nice to get the constrictions out of the way and welcome a bit of freedom of movement and all of that. But anyway, there's got to be optimism somewhere.
We're getting close.
Get through all this, and if it wasn't for that, well, we go stark raving mad, I suppose. But it's great to have this going again.
Yeah,
thanks
it really
to
is.
Jeff Verco and Nathan Dale, who are alongside me, holding the bottles of wine and doing lots of important things with the props that are required to make this show go. And great thanks to Nathan Lyon and Pat Cummins for coming on board. Yeah.
Now, the money that we raise has already contributed to over $105,000 worth of projects from back in June. 6 projects there. We got the blind bats in Queensland who have the marquees that they require, going to get $2,000. The Cerebral Palsy Alliance here in New South Wales, $5,000 for bicycles they need. The Port Phillip Specialist School, they require gymnastics equipment. We've come to the table, Jim. The Primary Club does such great work, doesn't it?
It has since 1974. I think over $7 million has been handed out to various organisations that are supporting the disabled via sport. And this is, as has become pretty well known for those connected with the Primary Club, the cricketers' charity that supports the disabled. And it's with your generosity, all of those who are following this tonight, and your support of whatever we do here, and some sponsors that you mentioned, and the auction that's going to take place, that we can continue to do this good work. So thank you very much for contributing. And thanks very much to Nathan Lyon and Pat Cummins for getting out for Golden Ball Ducks. In fact, I don't know whether they want to know it. I think Pat leads the field in terms of one versus the other, a bowler versus a bowler. I think he's had 9 Golden Ducks in Australian representation, and Nathan's only had 7.
Oh,
Right. Now, if
letting
you do
us
a quick
down.
multiplication of that,
Golden ducks.
1,000 members, right? 16 ducks, $10 each. It works out to a fair bit of dough. So thank you very much for getting out for those golden ducks. Can you please do it in future when we're 6 for 500 rather than 6 for 50? That's the only thing I ask. But it's very handy to have those golden ducks. They add
We do
up
our
a
best,
lot of-
Jim.
Yeah.
There aren't many times you get to introduce 2 of the greatest cricketers in the history of Australia by complimenting their awful performances with the bat for the country. But hey, this is what this series is all about. So let's start with the gentleman who has come a long way since we were here first video series last year. He's a primary club ambassador. He's an all-rounder. He's a test vice captain. He's got a young'un on the way, but more impressively, has gone from the back room of a farm outside of Sydney to a almost turtleneck with a fireplace behind him. Pat Cummins, fast bowler. Look at you. You are very civilized.
Oh, thanks, Matty. Good to see you. And so you've grown a fiddle leaf and a child. Which one are you more proud of, mate?
This was a lot less assured for being alive a year into the occasion, but you're what, 3 weeks away?
Yeah.
3 weeks, mate. How are you feeling?
Yeah, excited. Yeah, I don't think it's really hit me yet. So yeah, I was saying earlier, worst case scenario, if it all gets too much, I'm booked on a flight over to the World Cup a few days afterwards anyway. So
Your timing is special, yeah. Becky, she'd be very happy with that. You buzz off after a day or 2 of the new arrival.
Yeah, exactly. So no, we're very excited. Can't wait. Nursery's ready. Yeah, still sleeping okay at the moment. I am.
Well,
It really matters. So,
all the mums will ask, is it a boy or a girl? Do you know?
I do know. I better leave it out though.
Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Now, Paddy, let us know, what are you going to be bringing to the auction table this evening? What can people prepare to throw their hard-earns down for?
Yeah, so I mean, they weren't a very successful shoot. Oh, we've gone blurry.
Oh, you've.
There we go. There you go. Pair of shoes. So I wore these this summer in the Test series against India for the 4 Test matches. So I've signed them. They'll go on the auction tonight, sent out to the winning bid.
Awesome. All right. Well, don't start your bid yet, because that's going to be in the second half of tonight. The first half, we're going to be auctioning something that is brought to the table by a man who is new to the Primary Club Australia's video series. This is awesome. Australian cricket spin bowler. He's nicknamed the GOAT for a reason. 100 tests, 399 wickets. The greatest of all time, Nathan Lyon. Welcome, great man.
How are you, Fridge?
Oh, we went to uni together. That's why I'm Fridge. You've come a long way since we were at uni.
Yeah, well, firstly, I didn't get to uni. I was never smart enough, but my brother was.
Did.
So, plenty of time back in Canberra, which was good fun.
And mate, what have you been up to? How have you been spending the last couple of weeks in, Sydney lockdown?
Yeah, like everyone else, a lot of time at home. I've actually got 3 members of the New South Wales squad living with me, which is absolutely... I've got no hair to pull out, but if I had Pat's hair, I'd be pulling it out. But so I've got Daniel Hughes, Liam Hatcher, and Harry Conway living with me at the moment, as they had to get out of the LGA, so we were able to train. We're able to train in small groups, which is really good. But I've got 2 little girls who are 8 and 6, but these 3, they're grown men, and I basically need to do everything for them, from the laundry to cooking to cleaning up. So it's been pretty interesting.
Oh, mate, it's a wild world that Pat Cummins is about to join. And whenever you got a dad who's about to join it, you just go, God, welcome to the team, mate. It's unbelievable. It's the best. Now, okay, this is how it's going to work. First auction item is going to be yours, Nath. What we're going to ask people to do who want to bid is to throw their bid into the chat feature. And if you have a question for Nath or a question for Pat, we'll be getting to that. That goes in the Q&A feature. So we're going to open auction item number 1. Nath, what are you bringing?
My 600th first-class wicket ball at the SCG last year. Nick Madison, New South Wales, we went on to lose the game, but that's not a big thing at all. We don't need to worry about that. Yeah, so 600 first class ball, the ball that we bowled with. So, yeah, if you want it, come get it.
Awesome. Well, Pat Cummins has already thrown in a $100 bid. So that's pretty good. Amazing. It's on. Hey, a quick shout out as well to Steve. Great to be back. Steve from Vocus here, hoping you might be able to call out all the boys joining from Frankston Cricket Club in Victoria Premier Cricket if you get a chance, of course. Let us know where you're watching us from, because we love that we can connect as much as, hey, you can. And Jimmy, mate, you look like you've been enjoying the Ponting Wines. Are we ready to go with the chat with the boys?
Oh, I think so. I've just got to check and see what they're drinking, because I would imagine they're being very disciplined and drinking something that's a bit clearer than the red I've got in front of me. Is that right? Are you behaving yourselves, boys?
Professional athlete, Jim.
Right.
I just had a cup of tea.
Professional athlete. In the old days, that meant you had a VB in your hand. What have you got in your hand tonight?
I've just got the plain and simple water. So
well done. Very, very disciplined. What about you, Pat? You're partial to a glass or two of this stuff?
I love my wine. I've probably over-egged the pudding in the last few weeks, as they say, with wine. But Gaz and I have been shooting all day, a TV ad with a linter, so it was a big day, and then we're back at it at 7 a.m. in the morning. So I thought I better stick to the team water today and maybe tomorrow night.
Do you sit in those ads because they play so frequently during summer, and just go, oh, I don't know if Australian cricketers are the best actors based on the way that these things roll out?
What are you trying to say, Matt?
I'm saying that you're a very ordinary actor, Pat.
How many takes, I think he's trying to say?
Well, that's why it takes 2 days to film a 15-second ad.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, God. The things you have to do. Now, the question I'm sure a lot of people are asking out there is, what the hell are you blokes been doing? Because Australia hasn't been playing any cricket. And you, Pat, you haven't played since the IPL. Nathan, I don't think you've played since the Shield final, have you?
No, correct,
Yeah.
Jim. So
what the hell have you been doing, you guys, for the last 6-9 months?
It's a good question, Jim. This is my first ever full pre-season, so I don't really know what I'm doing with myself in the gym so much. But just training with New South Wales for myself before we head away into hard quarantine to start the Shield season.
Yeah. Pat, what have you been doing in terms of cricket? Anything?
No, much the same. So we've been really lucky. The whole lockdown, we've been able to train in New South Wales. So yeah, just about every day we go out. We're based at Homebush and been training every day, which is great because normally when we're on the road for 10 months of the year. So unless you're injured, you don't get a big block of training. So little things that build up over the years, like my hamstrings are always just kind of hanging on. It's given us a good 6-month block to get really strong and fit and hopefully lay down the groundworks for, a big summer, but also for the next couple of years. It's great having a big block, ideally every couple of years to get all the strength back in you and fix all the niggles.
You've reminded me actually of Vince Sorrenti's line while I'm thinking of it. There's a wonderful line about the quarantine and bubbles, right? And he said it's something along the lines, the most important thing to remember about bubbles, there's always some prick. Which I thought was a very good line. This is still a festering sore for all of us, and sportsmen in particular, the thought that, you're going to be locked up for 2 weeks somewhere. When you go off to this T20 series, for instance, Pat, do you have lock up for 2 weeks before you start?
So we've got to lock up for 6 days on arrival, which is actually okay. The last year, we've done a few tours overseas, and you've got to do 14 days kind of soft quarantine here in Australia just to get on the flight. And then once you get over there, it's normally about 6 or 7 days, kind of locked in your room. You play the tour in a bubble hotel. So, we toured England last year and we literally didn't see anywhere other than Southampton, AG's Bowl, and the Manchester, Old Trafford field. Literally nothing else other than the highway, and we're there for a month. And I think, like we're quite used to being locked in hotel rooms. Obviously, there's a bit more interaction than a hard quarantine. I think just the time that each tour now takes. So where a 3 or 4 week ODI tour in the middle of winter was no stress, that's now a 7 or 8 week tour, which then means, some of the boys only had 2 weeks at home after the last IPL before flying over for the Aussie tour, came back for 10 days before flying off again. So they've gone, 7 or 8 months with literally 20 days sleeping in their own bed. So it just all adds up. That's probably the toughest thing I've found in the last couple of years.
Well, just continuing that, Nathan, do you have some sympathy for the English players who are, talking about the problems of getting into Australia because of our quarantine of families and the rest of it? I mean, how do you look at the situation for them and the fact that there could be a bit of attrition in terms of the playing roster that comes to Australia for the Ashes, if in fact all this comes to pass? I mean, already it looks like Ben Stokes is not going to be coming. Do you have some sympathy for them with all these processes in place?
Well, firstly, that's disappointing that Stokes is not coming. We really enjoy bowling to him on flat wickets, so that'll be interesting. But yeah, it's an interesting one, Jim. Like, obviously, you feel for people without their families and whatnot. But at the end of the day, we're very lucky in what we do, and if we can put some smiles on people's faces in times like this, it's even more important. So I think they should suck it up and get on with it. If you're asking me, I saw Brody come out and said last night that he's jumping on the plane in November. So I think you'll see a very strong England side come out, to be honest with you. I think Cricket Australia will put in some really good protocols and everything like that, and I think everything will work out okay. Like, at the end of the day, we went over there last year, as Pat just mentioned, and it was full COVID and we had no vaccines or anything. So where now there's a lot of vaccines obviously running around and everything like that. So I'm expecting a full-blown summer.
So I'm taking this for granted. Both of you have been double jabbed?
Yeah.
Double jabbed.
Yep. And I hope everyone else involved in the show tonight is going the same way. So, and just on that score of cricket in Australia, a lot of people are a bit concerned that the cricket season may be delayed for a number of months. And as far as you're concerned, Nathan, because you'll be here while Pat's over there playing in the T20, what's happening with Sheffield Shield and domestic one-day cricket? Are you confident that it's actually going to start, and when?
Well, it's starting tomorrow. If you jump on KO, I think the Redbacks are playing the Warriors in Adelaide. So,
actually,
yeah, it's starting tomorrow in the one-day comp for New South Wales and Victoria. I think the plan is that we're actually flying out on October the 4th to Adelaide to do 14 days hard quarantine. Then for our first Shield game to start on the 25th of October. And I think the plan is roughly that we'll play 4 Shield games and 5 one-day games before the first Test match. So in the scheme of things, we'll have a lot of cricket under our belt before the first Test match, which is, it gives a lot of people opportunities to put their hand up for selections and a lot of guys to just make sure they're hit the ground running when come the first Ashes Test.
So where will you be playing those games, or where won't you be playing those games, I suppose, is the other question, given we have a number of republics in the Australian Federation who run their own rules? Yes.
So the plan is after quarantine that we're free as a bird pretty well, and that we can play in Adelaide, Tasmania and Perth. I think that's the plan. We won't be playing in Melbourne or Sydney for the first part of the season, I don't think. So that's up to the BBL anyway. But then no doubt January, February, that will New South Wales will go play Victoria in Victoria or New South Wales. So fingers crossed for a good summer.
Sorry, Jimmy, I'll just interrupt you very briefly there, just to update for people. $500 is where the Nathan Lyon cricket ball is at. and keep your bids coming in the chat section. Plenty of Q&A questions. And excuse me, big shout out to the likes of Javesh watching in Parramatta. We've got David in Lismore. We've got people watching from the United Kingdom on the farm northeast of Adelaide. We got Jimmy Boyle from the Taverners here. Warwick in England is where Paul's coming from. So I really appreciate you guys coming to us from wherever you are. $500 is where the Nathan Lyon ball's at. 10 more minutes, and then we're going to look to close that one.
Right. So just continuing on that theme of the uncertainty that pervades our lives, Pat, how do you look to seeing how that's going to be managed as hopefully we get to a happier situation of more mobility and less restrictions?
Yeah, that would be ideal. I think the starting point is we're still really lucky to be able to travel around and do our job. Like, we've been overseas a few times in the last 18 months where, so many haven't been able to travel and see their families. So especially, I think, to Nate's point about the Ashes, like, they're career defining moments. We're really lucky to have playing one Ashes series, let alone, multiple. So World Cups, Ashes, I mean, you wouldn't want to be anywhere else in the world, even if you were locked in a hotel room. That's kind of my mindset. But to be sustainable and to be able to get back to playing, basically 12 months of the year, there needs to be, I think, firstly, it needs to be easy to travel around. And, people have families and missing out on big life moments, which you understand in normal times. Everything's just a little bit harder at the moment. But, fingers crossed everyone gets vaccinated and everything becomes a little bit easier.
In the scheme of things, how important is being successful in this T20 World Championship, whatever you want to call it, compared to winning the Ashes? What matters more, one or the other, both? I mean, how do you evaluate it?
The Ashes.
Yeah.
What was that? Ashes. I think Australian cricket as a whole is judged more on Ashes than kind of, especially T20 World Cup. So, I think for most people, and probably me as well, if we won the Ashes, then, the World Cup isn't as important. But it's, I've won an Ashes. I've never won a T20 World Cup. Australia's never won a T20 World Cup. You're playing against every team in the world. I think it's harder to win. So I don't know. It's like both, but I think Ashes is probably the one where it would be judged more on.
Well, there's a second prize here with the T20 because we're playing it again in 12 months in Australia. So if
exactly.
you have another game next year.
Exactly. I think that's what's made the one-day international World Cup so special, is it is only every 4 years. So I'm not a massive fan of having these big World Cups every year in T20s.
Now, you're both contracted players with Cricket Australia. I don't know whether you've seen this little list that's come out about the overseas test games played by the various countries. And of course, Australia's at the bottom of the list. They haven't played a test away from home since the Ashes in 2019. Nathan, do you think this is bad organisation, bad luck? What is it? Why hasn't Australia been playing more red ball cricket in particular, which is your forte, of course?
I think it's just with the current climate, with COVID running rampant everywhere, unfortunately. But I think you'll see that change quite quickly in the near future. I think you look at next year. I think without talking out loud too much, I think we've got 3 tests meant to be in Pakistan. I dare say they'll be somewhere like Dubai. Then I think we go, Pat, you can help me here. I think we go to Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. Maybe.
And then India the next year. I know we've got about a dozen subcontinent tests.
Yeah.
So we're gonna catch up, but in my eyes, I'd love to be playing more test cricket. To be honest with you, as it's in my eyes, it's the pinnacle. So I think we'll catch up though, hopefully.
Is the future?
God, sorry, Jimmy, just 1 second. Got 5 minutes left on the auction. I just need to check with Javesh, who had the highest bid at 700 and then
Just say 1,000 and you'll get it.
You will close it. 5 minutes left.
Yes. Where were we? Oh, yes. We look, Pat, this future tours program, I mean, it's all over the place, isn't it? For instance, when the hell are we going to play New Zealand in New Zealand? I mean, they're only over the ditch. It'd take 5 minutes to organise a couple of tests and sneak over there, wouldn't it?
Yeah, well, I've never been over there to play tests.
Yeah.
I've never been to Sri Lanka. Haven't played Pakistan away. Well, I was injured for one series there, but yeah, I think to Nate's point, I'd love to play more Ashes series. More Test match series. I mean, I think we've played Gaz, 4 tests in the last 20 months or something like that, 18 months. Yeah. Which, you know, for me, I missed enough test matches when I was injured. So to be fully fit and kind of middle of my career, I'm itching to go and play plenty of test matches. I mean, I wouldn't want to be an administrator, like especially in cricket, you've got 3 formats you've got to try and fit in. If you undervalue one, you know, people that love T20 start screaming at you because you're not putting enough in the T20, and then it's really hard to balance. Then you chuck in an IPL, you chuck in some World Cups in there. Nightmare.
It is a nightmare, and if you're living in England, you've got the 100 as well, which has made it chaotic. I mean, ideally, if we can come up with this, is it an Australian season going to look like, where you're going to have Test cricket and BBL, the 2 big takes of the summer, managed so that everyone gets a look in. I mean, for instance, you know, if you're not outside being a Test cricketer, a one-day a T20 player, basically in the middle of the summer, if you're playing tests overlaying a BBL season, you've got no opportunity to play unless you go back to grade cricket. So what's the answer to that little dilemma for fringe players during, say, an Ashes series with the 5th test in the middle of January and the BBL going on? And as I say, for a number of players, there's no cricket at all. So is there an answer to that? Do we have Sheffield Shield as well? What do we do?
Yeah, no, it's a tough one. It comes up every year. I think, you know, they have put on a lot of second 11 games during that time, which you probably don't hear about. And again, it's, you know, not perfect a replica for Shield cricket. It's a bit like when you try to pick the one-day squad and you're picking guys off BBL. It's not a perfect kind of match. I think nowadays that we're full-time professional, you've seen us play a lot of games, you know, start the season interstate. I reckon you could stretch out the season or rejig it anyway. You don't have to be totally this 5 or 6 summer months. I reckon you could try and pinch another month somewhere. And then, you know, we've now got a 6-7 week window in the middle where there's no one day or Shield cricket, which we never had until a few years ago.
Nathan, what do you think? Because you put your hand up for a lot of cricket last summer, bag of wickets in the Shield, recognised for that. I mean, you just kept playing, even though you didn't have the satisfaction, I suppose, of getting one day and T20 selection. What needs to happen with the way that's structured, particularly for players as committed as you are?
Yeah, it's a hard one. I guess I agree with Pat. I suppose you could drag the season out a little bit longer and potentially play up in Darwin or somewhere like that and take the games up there. But yeah, it's a difficult one, and players these days are just going to have to juggle and manage and make sure that you're ready to go whenever your opportunity comes, and no matter what cricket is. That's the beauty about our game, though, Jim. Like, you're only 4 fifers, 300s from going away to the next level. So I think that whatever you come around to, whatever game of cricket you get the opportunity, you just got to take it with both hands and play your role for your team, and hopefully sing a few songs along the way.
Are you resigned to the fact that you're only really a red ball player for Australia now, Nathan? That you're not going to be picked to play the white ball stuff anymore?
No, definitely not. My ambition is to play all three formats. Everyone knows that. I just don't think the vice captain knows that, and he's not putting a word in for me, to be honest with you. But apart from that, like I want to be playing all formats, especially when you see the likes of Pat, Mitch, and Josh. Especially you look at those three; they're three of my best mates, and the three guys who I love playing cricket with the most. So if you can be around them for longer and play a role within Australian cricket, then I'd be happy. So I'll just put my hand up every opportunity I get, as I said, with New South Wales cricket, and make sure that I'll take the opportunity if it comes again.
Well, I hope you get the opportunity.
Jimmy, can I just pause you there for just a very quick second, if that's all right? We've hit 8:30, which means that we are going to close the Nathan Lyon auction, and Michael Anderson, who's sitting there in Sydney at $750, has secured himself the Nathan Lyon signed cricket ball. So thank you so much, Michael. Yeah. That's sensational. And bam, there it is. We'll get it to you. How good's that? Jesus, how'd you get any turn with that thing? That is in a shape, that cricket ball. So we close auction item 1. Paddy, remind us what we are now opening the bidding for.
There's a reason why he took that 600th wicket, because none of us would bowl with it. So I got these shoes.
Yeah.
So I wore them Australia versus India Test series this summer. Signed, ready for the biggest bidder.
All right. Well, Lucy's opened the bidding at $50, and if she gets the win, that's the deal of a lifetime. Manjir's watching from the Guildford Leagues cricket. We have thousands of questions that have come through as well. That's a bit of exaggeration. Dozens and dozens, though. So we'll keep it going, Jimmy. But $300 is where the bidding's at already for Pat's cricket shoes.
Yes, we'll get to the questions soon. So, Pat, from what you're saying there, you wore those boots for all 4 tests against India. Comparatively, how many pairs of gloves would Steve Smith have gone through in the same 4 tests?
He didn't bat long enough.
Smithy, he just takes up half a change room. There's bats, there's gloves, things thrown everywhere. If he doesn't score runs, he has to go and buy a new thigh guard. Every summer, there's a couple of new things that pop up.
Does he ever forget to put his box in where all the other accoutrements he's carrying to the middle of the ground?
Oh, he makes Marnus. He makes Marnus pack his kit.
He gets Marnus to pack it. So in the Ashes Test series a couple of years ago in England, Marnus had played like 1 or 2 tests, but he wasn't the Marnus that we know today.
Yeah.
And he was just following Smithy around everywhere. He's picking up all Smithy's bats, of which he had about 50 of them.
Yeah, he mimics him all the time.
You pack my kit for the whole tour, yeah. I'll give you 2 bats. So Marnus jumped at it. Said it was the best deal of his life, he reckons.
Awesome.
Yes. Well, he is freakish in many ways, but his numbers suggest he can bat a bit too, which is important. So there are a few things going around the Australian team as we look ahead. Have either of you spoken to Tim Payne about his what do they call it? The bulging disc problem?
Yeah, the bulging what?
Disc. Yeah. That was very funny.
Yeah, I spoke to him a couple of days ago. He said he's going all right. It's pretty brutal surgery. So he reckons just from years and years of obviously keeping and being in that position, he thought it was only 1 disc, and then he had, the surgeon said 2 of them needed to be fixed. But he said he's going all right. They went through the front, which is a bit scary, but
yeah, it is. Yeah.
No, he reckons he'll be fine.
Yeah. What about you, Nathan? Have you had a word to the skipper?
Yeah, Jim, you always got to check in with your leaders. That's why I'm hanging around Pat over the next couple of days. But no, Payne is going okay, and he's the best clubman, so it'll be quite handy this summer to have him run around leading us around the park again. So it'll be good.
It's interesting you say that, best gloveman. Yes, who have been the best gloveman as far as you're concerned, bowling and hoping that the bloke behind the pegs will take the nicks and stop the leg side deliveries and the rest of it?
It comes down to 2, Brad Haddon and Payne. I actually think Payne probably picks Had's just a tad. I think painting his gloves his hands are exceptional, to be honest with you. He drops a couple of chances and I'll never criticise for anyone dropping chances, especially if you see the way they train. But the sound of painting his gloves when you're bowling to him, it gives you a lot of confidence. I know what Pat reckons, but it's extremely fun.
You support that, Pat?
Yeah, I haven't played with too many compared to Gaz. Painey's been probably 28 of my 30 odd tests. I can't remember how many tests I played. It's 30 odd. I think there's been three that he hasn't played. So no, he's fantastic. I can't remember him dropping too many at all. So
there he is, fantastic. Now we might. Is it time, Matt, for us to delve into some of these questions from the multitude of fans who are zooming into us?
They are zooming big time. Zale, in particular, has asked a heavy hitter question, which I haven't even begun to read yet, because Zale's also bid 570, which is Paddy's best figures in an ODI. I presume that's 5 for 70, not 57 for none. So that's good. That's where the bids. Do you remember that game?
Fun fact: I was 5 for 64 with one ball left, and Jasper Bumrah hit me for 6 back over my head.
You're unlucky.
So on the Tim Payne theme, because Srini sends through this question: ready for captaincy, Pat, if Tim steps aside?
Well, it's not really my call. But
yes, he is.
I mean, I think it's a pretty easy team to look after at the moment. You've got, especially the bowlers. Gaz has taken, 600 first-class wickets as he keeps spruiking tonight.
That's a little bit more now.
Oh, a little bit more. And you've got Davey Warner, Steve Smith, Marnus, like really high-quality established batters. So, if I get asked to do it, don't think too much would change.
All right, Nath and Pat, good time to ask this after you suggest you've had a couple of nights or days of enjoying the good time. How long do you actually train every day?
Well, at the moment, our skill sessions are probably going for about close to 2.5 to 3 hours, I dare say. By the time you finish warm up and by the time you pack your stuff up, you're probably pushing about 3.5 hours. Then if you got gym or running on top of that, so for instance, we're at Blacktown. I think we got to Blacktown at about 9 a.m. the other morning, and if you're there until the end, I think we left around 2:30.
Big day. This from Justin Verko. I suspect there's a link. How hard is it to mentally and physically prepare for an Ashes series, which may not even go ahead? This from Justin.
No, I'll go ahead.
Yeah. You reckon? I mean, it will obviously go ahead. Is it weird when you go, how do you prepare when there's so much talk around everything other than the cricket? Who's coming, where's playing, what the schedule is? Does that throw it up?
I think for some people it does, and there's always different narratives. Who's in and out of the side, who's the opposition. Honestly, that's why there's journalists. There's always something going on. So it's for professional players in any sport, you just got to get on with it. You don't worry about the noise too much after a while, because it doesn't really change what you do out in the middle.
This one from Trevor. Pat, even at the top of the game, as you are, do you look at guys like Jimmy Anderson for ways you can ensure longevity in the game? I want to see you bowl at the sharp end of every test innings for another decade. So settle in, son.
Thank you. Of course. I really like watching people like Jimmy bowl, especially over in England. I loved bowling over there a couple of years ago, and before that series, look at people like Broad and Jimmy, and look at ways that they've been successful and learn off them for sure. And I think broader than that, you've got people like Bumrah, Kagiso, Rabada, Jofra Archer. Yeah, every team has a couple of bowlers that I think you always look to just to see, if they're doing anything new, how they're going about it, especially if you're bowling second in a test matches. Have they done anything in that first innings that you can bring into your game? But for Jimmy to be playing, what has he played? 150 test matches, still bowling at 39. Incredible effort. I wouldn't be holding out hope for me.
Nath, I'll get you to answer this one. Who would you least rather face, Mitchell Starc or Pat Cummins?
Least like Starkey, because he actually doesn't know where they're going.
Yeah.
To be
Good
honest.
answer.
Is he? I'll extend this slightly. Their most lethal over to face, and they're on the money. Starkey, Pat Cummins, or Mitchell Johnson. Nath, who would be the most deadly of the three?
I don't know. The reason why I actually moved to New South Wales from South Australia was to the pure fact that I didn't have to face Pat, Josh, or Mitch in the game. So that's a real truth. So I'd actually go Mitchell Johnson if he's bowling the way he did in the 12-13 Ashes here at home. I think was that 13-14.
13-14.
Yeah, 13-14. I think I would go Jono because he was absolutely lethal last that time. It was pretty amazing to be on the field, and I was actually scared of leg slip there a couple of times.
Yeah. All right. This one from John Pryor to both of you. My son Luke wants to know, what was your best performance as a junior cricketer?
Nothing.
No good.
Outlandish. No, like I never took a big bag of wickets or anything above the normal. Gaz?
5 for 9. 5 for 9 against West Wylam.
What age?
Under 12. I used to bowl seam up and swing him around.
That's living.
I will butt in and say I reckon the best performance was I was batting, which was a little bit rare that I was going so well, and I was smacking them all over the park. I was about 70 off about 25 balls, and it was a one-day game. My dad was coach, and he declared in a one-day game. Cost me 100. I was fuming at him.
It has stuck. Yeah. This one for Rob and Jimmy. I'd love your thoughts as well. Lads, a comment on the Black Caps winning the World Test Championship. Start with you.
I didn't watch.
Yeah, they can actually thank our quick bowlers for them getting in there, to be honest with you. If Pat, Mitch and Josh actually got back to the mark quite quickly in Melbourne, we would have been there. I would have liked our chances, to be honest.
Yeah.
If you could stop the off spinner from speaking to the umpire and the non-striker every ball, we might
Turn it up.
overrate.
Jimmy, what about you?
Yeah, well, in fact, the person in the middle of that was the match referee, who was an Australian, David Boone, who came up with a penalty. It was a pretty good event, given everything that went into the exercise with reduced matches, and they had to dilute the format to come up with India playing New Zealand as it turned out. But obviously India are a bit caught short with the preparation, and New Zealand were raring to go after playing and defeating England. And is a great tonic for the game. I think that we've had this event, we've shown that it kind of can work. Maybe they need to rejig the format somehow when we get back to a normal existence after COVID. But I think it's been a very healthy outcome for the game, even though a number of people might dispute the fact that New Zealand are day in, day out the best team in the world. This happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rory says, I understand that Pat is living not far from the Bronte Surf Club. Wanted to check his availability for the Patrol Beach cricket comp the week prior to the Sydney Test, especially bowling from the Tamarama end. Any chance you're available?
Tamarama, no chance. I want Southerlies behind me. Early end. Thank you. And I'll be there.
This one for Nath from, where is it? From Adam. All right. Hi, Pat and Nathan. Which form of cricket do you prefer, playing in the Big Bash with the, this is from Max, Jello Brand, the under-11s, in the Big Bash with the music and the crowds and the fun, or Test cricket over 5 days?
For me, I really enjoy playing Big Bash, but the Test match cricket is the pinnacle. You get to test yourself in different areas. Obviously, batting for the likes of Josh and myself, who can't really hold it compared to everyone else in the team. So we get to challenge ourselves and do that. But to play 5 days and hopefully come out with and be able to sing the team song, it's absolutely the pinnacle for me. So that's my one.
Yeah.
Same.
Yeah, the same, Paddy?
Yeah.
$600, by the way, is where the bid is. $600 is where it's at. Jack Courtney leading that one. We've still got a couple of minutes left on that, so get your bids in for the signed pair of shoes. There was a question earlier, do socks come with it? Surely not. You don't keep socks.
You can have some. They've probably got the big toe cut out or have a big hole in the big toe.
That's foul. You can have it. Greg asks, boys, who's the worst snorer you've ever shared a room with on tour?
Jesus, don't do
We
that.
don't share a room, so it's actually it ends up all right.
What? Who's the biggest pest? Honestly, Mitch Marsh came off so well in that in the Amazon cricket series, but at the same time, hang on a second. Ewan's not throwing a bid in. 1,400 was the bid last year for Pat Cummins' boots, so currently a bargain. COVID, it's hit everyone tough. Who's the biggest pest in the locker room?
So besides Nate, it's I'd say Marnus. Marnus doesn't shut up, does he, Nate? So he's great on those days where you just need a little pick me up. You know, you day 3 and you're a little bit flat. It's good energy though most of the time. If Davey's scored some runs and he's up and about. Any of the batters.
Yeah, it's mainly all the batters, to be honest.
Good. When you are in quarantine, this is from Charlie, do you bring out the PlayStation 4s? Do you bring your weights from home? What do you actually do in the 14 days?
There is a lot of PlayStation being played. Call of Duty is a game that we all play or attempt to play. I'm more the medic. I'm useless at it. So is Pat, to be honest.
Have you played the cricket game that has you guys in it and looked at your likenesses and just gone, I'm in a video game?
No.
You look good. In fact, Nate, you look bang on. Paddy, it's you that looks a little bit like it's not necessarily worked out.
It's funny you mentioned that because there must be a new one coming out this summer. And I got an email today with like my updated likeness for this game. And I showed Gaz. And Gaz is like, oh, is that you? I thought that was Joshy Hazelwood. So, try for yourself.
It's good fun. It's good fun. John Reed asks, who's the best golfer in the team?
Starkey is probably the best golfer, but if David's probably the best counter, if that makes sense. I'll leave it at that.
Where do you guys, when you're on tour, do you play a lot together? I feel I remember reading stories like on days off, you guys get to play some pretty great courses around the world. Is that the case, especially in England? Is that the case?
Yeah, it kind of depends which, like some tours you have more time than others. The good thing about COVID is golf's been one of the only things that's been allowed on tour. So in England, we stayed right on a golf course at the back of the stadium, so we played that a bit. It's probably half a dozen that take their clubs every tour. Absolutely love it. Joshy Hazelwood sleeps until midday. The only thing that will get him up earlier is around a golf on tour.
775, Jack Courtney with the top bid. From Jonathan Northall, sounds like an English bloke. Which English cricketers did you despise most as a kid?
I know this bloke. Yeah.
Pat first.
I'm trying to remember. I mean, probably Peterson, Flintoff.
As a kid, you're not that young. Like, surely as a kid, you were in the Mike Athett and Graham Hick.
He is that
Nasser
young.
Hussain. Is he really?
Darren Goff.
Born in 93, aren't you, Pat?
93, that's it.
Is that right? Oh, God.
Yeah.
Ashley Giles.
Sucked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I reckon Ashley Giles, because as a spinner, you're comparing Warren and Giles, and he didn't come close to him. So I'm probably going there.
Yet he carried himself like he was Shane Warne, didn't he?
Yeah, 100%. Bowling in sunglasses.
You've bowled in sunglasses, haven't you?
Only when it matters. Only when I can't see the ball coming back.
Wow. He wouldn't have done that 5 years ago, Matt.
He's the GOAT now. Actually, I wanted to ask, Nate, of the GOATs, of the GOAT tier. So there's yourself, Jordan, LeBron, etc. Who's the GOATiest GOAT in your mind? Who's the actual GOAT of all GOATs? Tom Brady's in there.
I think there's four of them. Woods,
Five,
Federer, Brady, and Warren would be my top four.
Warren. Ahead of Jordan.
Well, you asked my opinion. You can go yours if you want.
Nice one.
Who's your GOATs, Pat?
Warney. I don't know. I've never really thought of it. Tiger Woods and Michael Jordan be up there.
Yeah. 775 is the top bid. All right. Well, it sort of comes up every time, but it is actually quite interesting. Joe Staines asked, boys, who is the player you like bowling against the most and why? Pat first, then Nath, or vice versa, whoever comes up with.
You go.
I don't know. I think you to win a Test series, you relish the challenge against the best batters in the other team. A lot of the time that ends up being the captains. But yeah, I wouldn't single out one person ever. I think, going into a series, there's normally one or two who are the most prized wickets. So, Joe Root's had a great English summer. So no doubt he'll probably be the prize wicket this summer.
I was going to say, Pat, best ball you've ever bowled in Test cricket, would the one that knocked over Joe Root at Manchester be up there?
Yeah, it'd be up there for sure. That's dream ball.
Yeah.
The one you nicked Jarks Callis off in your debut is pretty good.
Yeah. Yep. What about you, Nathan? Kumar Sangakkara?
Oh, how good's that?
I actually thought that was really wide, Jim, and I thought I was going to get smacked for four. Best ball is probably bowling Sachin Tendulkar through the gate in Chennai.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, well done, mate.
Yeah. You cop that.
Thanks, Pat.
I mean, Pat, you've got a few in the back catalogue that aren't terrible. That said, was it the run out at the end of the day's play in Adelaide that they just showed over and over and over again for the summer as the hallmark of the modern day fast bowler? Is that the peak moment for you in Test cricket, or what is it?
I'll probably replay that and send that to the boys more than any other clip.
Yeah.
It's right up there.
Okay, let's go to the next question because there is a lot rolling through. Question to Nath. What's your take on India not playing their off spinner Ashwin in England in any of the 4 tests?
Yeah.
Remarkable. I actually can't believe that he hasn't played, especially at the Oval. Jadeja ended up doing an okay job, and they went on to win that Test match. But I think they would have challenged England a lot more if Ashwin played.
Who would you have played him instead of in that team, though?
In my head, Jadeja.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Virat's very good friends with Jadeja. Is that right, Pat?
You talk to more than me, mate.
I love this. All right, Nathan Ray. I'm reading this without having pre-reading it because it's Nath. All right. Do you think the Aussie fan? Oh, you're a pest. Do you think the Aussie fans will learn a song other than Aussie, Aussie, Aussie? Will you miss the Barmy Army this year? Ponds.
The Barmy Army are actually brilliant. I actually really enjoy it. The worst thing about the Barmy Army is that you've got Mitchell Stark bowling there, and they're singing, you bowls to the left, you bowls to the right. That Mitchell Stark's bowling, everyone knows the answer. You actually end up singing it at that point, and then you wake up, like, snap out of it, and you go, I actually can't be singing that. So, yeah, we are going to miss the Barmy Army, but fingers crossed that there's some English fans that can get out here and come and sing a few songs. We actually celebrating the Ashes in 2017. We went to the pub the next day, just have a few drinks, and the leader of the Barmy Army were there, and they actually come and sat with us. And so after losing 4-0, I think it was, they actually sat with us for about 4 hours, and they were teaching us all the songs. So it was actually really, really enjoyable.
How good is that? What was is there one that stuck out in your mind as like, geez, that's a good song?
I love the Mo and Ali one.
How's it go?
Went to Mo and Ali. That's the only bit I know. Yeah.
Is it the case, Pat, because you obviously spend more time boundary riding, that when you get a Lippy fan, do you enjoy engaging with them, or do you just try to ignore them depending on what they're offering up?
Well, it's such a weird sport, cricket, that you have to go and stand. You're doing your job, you're standing on the outfield and you're getting sprayed. And most of the time it's for an autograph. And if you don't, in the middle of your job, go and sign an autograph, you're the worst bloke on the planet. So I always try and get them on side somehow if I'm in the mood. There's a couple of times I'm just grumpy and I'm in my own little world. But most of the time I try and have a bit of banter, try and get them on side.
Trevor asks, and this is a, give it a second to think romantically about the game. Max Walker, RIP legend, told me the best bits of Test cricket happen between overs. This is from Trevor John. Have you guys seen or heard any moments in a game that stick out to you that you cherish? Is it between players, umpires, the crowd, that will never make it into a scorebook or never have made it onto TV, that sticks out? You go, that was pretty cool.
Oh, there's one that just, I haven't thought of too much, but we were playing against Pakistan in Dubai. It was my first ever time I'd played over there and against Pakistan. And Dubai Stadium was sold out, and there was about 20,000 people outside the gates trying to get in. And what happened was they were trying to break down the gate. So all the police and the security around the field went to the front gate, which meant there was no one protecting the field. So I just remember in between balls, they started off with one streaker, and then eventually he would walk out. By the time there was about the fifth or sixth streaker, including a little kid that ran out, went up to shake the batter's hand. The batter held his hand, walked him off the field, and then putting him back into the crowd, which I just remember that standing out to me, which I just thought no other sport could see that.
Awesome. Nate?
No, I've got nothing. I'd have to think about it. So apologies.
No, that's fine. $840, $840, Jack Courtney. Nathan Dale's at $820. We are at 2 minutes or so until it closes. Nath, do you have any, you obviously seen the footage of Jarvo, the big fat English bloke who's made his run multiple times. As a player, do you go, that's funny stuff, I would applaud that if I was playing the game, or do you go, that really actually does get annoying after 3 tests in a row?
Yeah, I think it probably gets annoying. I think the first time you probably get laugh, but then it's like people walking behind the side screen and the quicks are running in and they have to pull out because someone walks past. So it gets quite annoying. So I dare say the first time would have been quite funny, and the boys dare say would have got around it if they had a sense of humour. So, but yeah, the third time would have been pretty annoying, I reckon.
Lino, this has come through dozens of times, so we'll answer all of them. One, your 400th, who do you want it to be? If you could draw it up, how would it go?
Oh, it doesn't really worry me to who it is, as long as it comes.
Yeah.
I don't know. You'd like to take someone like Joe Root. Obviously, he's the biggest player in the world at the moment in Test cricket, number one batter. So I don't know, caught bat pad, bowl through the gate. It doesn't really matter. If he wants to come down the wicket and sky it and Pat catches it, I'll still be happy.
Does it? Sorry, here's an insight into parenthood, Pat. My child is just crying because we're doing a Zoom at home, so I apologise for that. Does it stick out to you? And I've never actually asked you this because whenever we chat at Sixers games, whatever, it's all pretty brief. But having known you when we were at uni in Canberra, know your brother extremely well. When you first played your first game for New South Wales in the T20 series, as it was then, that was cool. Then all of a sudden it was a test match. Now you are talked about in and written about in record books that will live forever. Your name will sit there in greatest test wicket takers, greatest players of all time. Does that ever occur to you? Does it sink in? Do you appreciate that? Like, where does that sit on the scale of things that you've achieved versus what you ever thought would happen?
It probably hasn't sunk in completely, to be honest. It's something that I'm very proud of, but I feel like it's an unwritten story in my eyes. Like there's so many more things I want to tick off. Like two big goals for me would be to win a series in India and to win a series in England. So like for me, I feel like I've got so much more improving to do as well. So I think at the end of the day, when I can sit down with mum and dad and Brendan, who I know is on the call, and all my other family, and sit down and have a beer, and whenever I call stumps, and I think that's when it'll probably hit me the most. But at the moment, it's just go out there and playing the game that I love and training with the boys every day. So it's a pretty amazing job, to be honest with you. I get to travel around the world and the mates that I've been able to make around the world and throughout Australia, it's been a pretty incredible ride so far. It's
unreal. We will, Paddy, I'll ask you your favourite for a sec. So we're going to shut it. Jack Courtney just snuck in with an $840 bid, but prior to that, Nathan Daler had $820. Do you have a second pair of shoes sitting around so we can send one to Jack and his 840 and one to Nathan his 820, and all the money will obviously go to a great cause if you got them there?
You know what? I actually don't, but we can come up with something else. We can come up with a Aussie signed shirt, or something. If that'll probably up the value though.
It's not going to get through gaming and liquor. Nath Dale, let us know if you're okay with that, because we'll take that. We've gotten through so many questions. Paddy, you've been an ambassador for the primary club. You've done so much for us. Just a couple of words as well on what being involved in the primary club means to you and why you wanted to be involved.
Yeah, I think sport's given me so much. It's been a huge part of my life, for my family as well. So I just hate to think that, the opportunities aren't the same for everyone. So I just love the work, and the good that sport, and especially cricket, can do, the community it's built, and the real difference it's made. Feel really privileged to be here and have people come and listen and donate, and it's all for a great cause. And I think it's just we're in such privileged positions here, so just try and do our best with it and try and make a difference.
There was a question in there. Will you take up male modelling at the end of your cricketing career? Because
no, I don't reckon I will, Matt.
I think you've wasted an opportunity for the bald man, Dave.
Yep. No, I think I'll pass though.
So good. Congratulations to all the winners of the auction items. We'll be in touch to get those prizes to you. Jim, I mean, seriously, when we finished last year, if you had said we're going to restart next year and be further behind, you wouldn't believe it. But here we are. And next up on the 26th of the 10th, we have Ricky Ponting, the man behind.
The man behind. Yes, here it is. It's very good too. The Shiraz, I recommend it. It's very, very good. We're only into the first bottle, but we'll get serious soon.
Yeah, there's a fair
outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. Thank you for your support. I thought you were going to say, who would have thought a year ago when we were doing all this that a year later we'd still be in COVID?
I know, isn't it mental? It's just mental. Hey, fellas, thank you so much as well. There was one last question. Nath, do you enjoy being a night watchman or do you wish you weren't?
Well, it's an interesting one. I only do it when the batters get scared. So, look, it's not the best job in the world, but there's no one else. Like the fast bowlers are too precious, and you can't get them out there when it's dark and they're bowling fast. So when the batters get scared, I'll put them on. And but when Pat takes over as skipper, he said there's no more night watchmen, which is brilliant stance by the skipper.
That's amazing.
Great team, man, Nate. He'll do anything.
Back
Hey,
to the
fellas.
Steve Waugh days. Yes.
Yeah. There was one last, Andrew, who is well known to all of us, Andrew Wildblood. He has said, if you guys are willing to sign an Australian shirt, he'll throw in another $1,000. Are you guys willing to sign an Aussie shirt and add another grand to us all?
Yeah, 100%. I'll bring one tomorrow, and Pat and I will sign it, and yeah, go for it.
Done. Another 1,000. So that's the cricket ball, shoes, fish shirts, thousands of dollars raised, and we're done. Boys, thank you. Thank you so much for being a part of it. It's really appreciated.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Too easy.
Yeah.
Well done. Thanks, boys. Love that.
Pleasure.
Thanks, everyone, for tuning in.
Happy families, Pat.
Yeah, good luck, mate.
Thank you. Cheers.
Okay.
And keep an
Thanks,
eye on your
guys.
email. Sorry, bud. Go again.
Thank you.
No, all good,
Thank
mate. And
you.
keep an eye on your email. The 26th, we'll be back with Ricky Ponting, Cricket and Wine. We've got the Marshes, Commentators, the Umpire Strikes Back. It is so good. We appreciate your support. Jim, thank you so much as always. And let's rip into the rest of the night.
Happy days.
Thank you,
Cheers,
everyone,
guys.
for watching.
Cool.
See you next time. Bye, guys.
Cheers. Thanks.
Bye.